Hi everybody, I'm Michael. This is a 5-minute review for Nancy Drew number 33, Midnight in Salem. People really hate this game. This game has gotten a lot of negative reviews, and I can see why. It's, I don't know, if you compare it to the other Nancy Drew games, then it's kind of terrible. There's way too much talking in this game, especially in like the first 2 hours of the game. It's just non-stop talking and no puzzles whatsoever. Like there's a simple maze puzzle, and then like an hour later we get like the key puzzle to open up the judge's door, and then it's like an hour later before anything else happens because the characters just talk and talk and talk. Somebody needed to just take this script and cut out huge chunks of it. Yeah, once the Hardy Boys show up, the game does get a little better, although I don't like the second day of the game where most of the investigation is asking people what their alibis are. It's like, oh my gosh, more talking. Talk to everyone. That's a puzzle, and we have to talk to everyone about 3 different things. And the game's like, hey, we've got 3 different puzzles. It's like, no, it's talk to everyone about everything. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad that you can click to skip the dialogue in this game. The final day of the game is where things really come together and start to get interesting. We start having like puzzles regularly. They have some big revelations, which I feel like not all of them quite worked, but I do like how we have big revelations. They basically tried to give every character a big revelation is what they did. Some of them work, some of them don't. Very dramatic at the end of the game where our heroes are going through the Hathorn house and they have to solve just a bunch of puzzles. I really like the Hardy Boys and Deirdre Shannon in this game. It really helps that they have the same people who've been doing their voices for all the other Nancy Drew games. So it felt more like a Nancy Drew game because we had these returning voice actors. Nancy Drew has a new voice actress. I thought she did fine. Some people don't like it. Some people want the original voice of Nancy Drew back, but I think Brittany did a perfectly fine job as the new Nancy Drew. So I actually like that. Problem is just there's way too much talking in this game. Not enough gameplay for the first like 2 hours or so. I do like how we have a bunch of extra characters just wandering around in the background. Really made it feel like the game was real and immersive. Yeah, some of the graphics, like, I really love the scenery. The scenery's good, but some of the characters just look kind of terrible. I'm sorry, Tegan. Sorry. And Deirdre Shannon as well. You can kind of tell it's clearly Deirdre and Tegan were the exact same character. They just, like, changed the face and makeup a little bit and said, hey, guess what? We're done. And neither one is particularly like detailed. We get a lot of weird close-ups of Deirdre too because she follows you for most of the game. It's like ugh, and the game just makes you wait a long time before Lauren shows up. Lauren's a pretty good character. The extra stuff in the game, there's really not a lot of extra stuff. There's like 2 things. You can make potions. You could call it potions. You could just call it tea. Making tea in Lauren's shop, or making pumpkins in Tegan's area, and that's basically it. Everything else is just it's a very structured game. You can't do things in any order you want. It's not like Curse of Blackmore Manor where we've got 12 different puzzles and you can solve them in any order you want. Nope, this one is very, very structured. Do things in a very specific order, and lots of just tons of talking. I feel like if this had been the first game in a new series, not a Nancy Drew series, but the first game in a totally new series, it would have fared better and people would have given it more benefit of the doubt. The fact that it took them like 4.5 years to make this game and it constantly got delayed like at least 3 times, that sort of built up a lot of hatred for this game before the game had even been released. I don't have enough time to talk about all the characters. Yeah, the ending of the game is fine, although it's just they just talk way too much. Like we're confronting the culprit and I'm falling asleep because it's 20 minutes of talking about every single thing, and it's just ugh. So yeah, yeah, like I said, I feel like it would have been okay if this was like the first game in a new series, but it's not. It doesn't follow too much. It doesn't fit in with the other Nancy Drew games that much. Definitely needed way more puzzles. The story was solid. It felt like if this had been developed into like a mini series for the TV show, that's sort of it. That's sort of what it feels like. So I mean, that would have been fine, but yeah. 5 or 6 out of 10. I don't think it's the worst game in the series. There are other games that are like more actively bad. This game just has the one problem where everybody talks way too much. That's really the only thing that I feel is really holding it back. Also, like the first like half of the game where there are no puzzles too. But other than that, and some of those graphics too. Yeah, I mean there are reasons to not like this game, but I don't feel like it's that terrible. I don't hate it as much as other people seem to hate it. Yeah. So I mean, it's bad. I like it more than the Shattered Medallion and well, not as much as Creature of Kapuke, but more than Shattered Medallion and Ransom of the Seven Ships. So that's where I'd place it. I'd place it in like the bottom 4 games in the series, but not at the very bottom. It's not that bad. All right, those are my thoughts. Bye.